I go in my head. Let's talk about the rock that matters most. Rock your faith out. Rock your faith out.
Hey, welcome to Rock Your Faith Out. I am your host, Michael Kadrie, and I want all of you at home right now to go completely nuts as I welcome to the show guitar player for Skillet and Fight the Fury. Let's not forget about that. Seth Morrison.
Right.
What's up, my brother in Christ?
I love how you threw the Fight the Fury in there too. That's awesome.
Yeah, can't forget about them, man. Great music.
Yeah.
So, hey,
That's
thanks so much for taking the time out to be with me today. I know you guys are over in Europe right now and touring heavily, and we've tried for a few months to pull this thing together. So it's awesome that you could take the time out to do this.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. We're in Hamburg, Germany. We just got here, I guess, a couple days ago. So I'm still doing the whole waking up at 4 a.m. My body doesn't know where it's at. But yeah, I know as we were talking about before we hopped on, we have been trying to do this for a couple of months. I was joking. It's on me. I got all of your watchers have to know it's my fault because I said we were on Winter Jam, I believe. And when management had approached me about it, I was like, yeah, I'd love to do it. And then I said, well, let's wait till Winter Jam's, we have a couple months off. Winter Jam's over in like a month. Let's do it whenever we get home. And then, as a father of two toddlers that are under 3 years old, I quickly realized that was the wrong decision. I'm like, okay, actually, it'll be easier to do it when I'm on the road.
Right. Well, if it makes you feel any better, it took, I think, about a year for me to get the interview with John when I got the interview with John. So, and I had to do it in person. So if that makes you feel any better.
Well, he is much. He's much busier with press than me, so. But it's been great. It was a great couple of months off, though. After Winter Jam was over, and soaking up the time with the family and with the kiddos. So,
well, that's why I feel so blessed that you joined me here, because you don't do a lot of these things, and this is a very personal type of interview, right? Normally, you're talking about guitars or your rig or something like that, or about Skillet. This is, and we can talk a little bit about the music, obviously, because it kind of blends in with your life. But I like to get a little bit more personal and talk about your faith's journey. And normally I like to kind of go back to the beginning of things and kind of work our way through things. But I might want to jump around a little bit, because just one thing that's on my mind right now, because we were talking about John. And when I was asking him about when he brought Jen Ledger into the band, I'm like, she was a phenomenal drummer, but, she'd only been playing drums for a couple of years. And I'm like, did you know that? And did you know that she could sing and all this other stuff? He's like, no. He goes, he had no idea. First of all, they didn't even hire her because she was a great drummer. They hired her because Corey said she's a beautiful soul and a follower of Christ, and she's just a really, really good person. And the fact that she could play drums was kind of like the first layer of icing on the cake, and then the singing was like the pièce de résistance type of thing.
That's right, yeah.
So what was it like for you coming into the band? Was it something similar? Was it like a straight up audition, or were they just attracted to you for your faith? Was it a blend of both? How did that happen?
I think, I hear a lot of, hearing you expound upon that story, I think I see some similarities, and of course you're going to see some similarities because it's the Coopers are making the decision of who they want to bring into their family, if you will, essentially. Right. So I was Jen was much younger than she joined at the age of 18. I joined it, I think I was 20. I was either 22 or 23. I see some similarities. I mean, it was kind of a thrown into the fire thing too, right. Because it was so many things. I mean, I heard about the opportunity very early on from a buddy, but from back home in Ohio, where I'm from. I don't know how he heard about it, to be honest with you, because nothing had been publicly announced at that time. So,
which makes it cooler.
It does make it cooler. So I wasn't like this. I wasn't living in Nashville. I wasn't like this industry protege or like virtuoso. I wasn't a protege of somebody. I wasn't a virtuoso, this hot shot in Nashville coming up. It wasn't any of that. I was living in small town, Southern Ohio.
Right.
And I had like one, sometimes guys have like, they're big connection guys. They have all these connections, and people will tell you like, there are musicians out there that are wanting to get into this or do this or feel called to do this. You will have so many people say, man, it's all about rubbing shoulders with people. It's all about connections. And while that's not untrue, that wasn't necessarily me. I didn't move to Nashville pursuing it. I was working, to be honest with you, I was working for, my dad owned an auto parts store in our town in Southern Ohio for 40 some years. And that's what I was doing at full time at the time that I left to join Skillet. We can get into that if you want to. But the one guy that I knew, I had become friends with Toby Mac's guitarist, Tim. His name's Tim Rosenau. And we just had kind of kept in touch over the years. Like, we weren't like really good friends, but he kept in touch with me. Knew that I was a good rock guitar player. He very much knew that that was my forte as a player. Right. He's like, I can tell you're a rock metal guy, whatever. So he's the only guy I knew. Me not knowing if hearing about this Skillet thing was even true, I hit him up, and he's like, wow, let me see what I can find out. So the really cool part of this, and I would call it the divine part of this, Skillet and Toby had just done a tour together, probably not even a year prior to this, for probably like 10 months prior. I
probably saw them on that tour. I've seen them a couple of times together.
Yeah, maybe so. It was a really big tour. So there was, you get off a long tour with somebody, and it's just kind of natural. There's still that familiarity there, like relational thing there. So I don't quite know how this went. It'd be funny for you to have Tim on your podcast sometime, and he could tell his side of it. But I believe he reached out to Toby because he didn't have John's phone number. So I believe he reached out to Toby, and then maybe Toby made the connection. Not sure. But the next thing I know is I had an email from our production manager, who's still with us to this day. His name's Scotty.
I know Scotty. Scotty Rock.
I hadn't heard. That's right. Yeah, I hadn't heard anything else about this. I just checked my email when I got to my dad's auto parts store the next day, and had an email, like, as some of you may have heard. It was like a vague. It was obviously sent out to more than one person, and basically just saying, could you please send in a video? There's a lot of criteria, like send in your bio, send in some photos, send in videos of you playing these songs, X, Y, and Z. Right. I was like, all right, well, so I asked my dad if I could get off work early, and went to my church in my hometown. And my cousin, who we were talking about before we hopped on, who was also the drummer in Fight the Fury. I didn't mention that to you. That's another cool thing.
Nice,
helped me make my audition video, and sent it in. Long story short, didn't think I got it. They had already committed to trying someone else out. I think pretty early on.
I think, yeah.
Man, you've done your research. I
follow a lot of. I have a lot of useless information up in my head. So.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, I tried someone else out. Didn't things didn't gel, I guess, for whatever reason, and I got a call from John, like, I think probably early April 2011, and that the tour that they were on had already started. That's why I get back to this being, say, thrown into the fire. The tour had already started, and it was a rock tour. It wasn't a Christian tour. It was a big rock tour. A big rock tour. Stone Sour was headlining, which, if some of your listeners don't know, that's the singer of Slipknot's other band.
Yeah, I think a lot of people know.
So they were headlining. Hailstorm was on it. Theory of a Dead Man. So it's a big rock tour, you know, and then John's basically like, we had a conversation just quickly, like we'd love to bring you out for the tour, see how this goes. You know, I think there was probably, well, it was very early in that tour. It was probably 3 or 4 weeks left. I'm like, well, okay. I was like, well, when do you need me? And he was basically like, yesterday. So,
Not
so
a lot
like
of time.
not a lot of time, not a lot of time at all. So it was literally, man, like, getting off work at my dad's auto parts shop one evening.
Right.
Say it was a Tuesday, and Thursday I was flying to Texas to meet up with Skillet on the store. It was quite the whirlwind. But I would say, yeah, I mean, it's some similarities in what you were saying with Jen, and that I think that attests. Well, I don't think I know. It attests to the Coopers and the foundation that they've built here in Skillet and the community they've built in Skillet is. Here's another cool part of this story. When I was talking about Tim, as I would say, we would keep in touch. If Toby was playing close to my hometown, right. For the hometown I'm from, if you want to go to any show, it's got to be a 2-hour radius because it's like one of those type towns. So I think I had gone to like Cincy or Dayton or somewhere to see Toby. This is bizarre. This is really bizarre. I think it was shortly after I had sent in my audition stuff. So like it was done and I had sent it in. Me and my buddy who came to the show with me were standing there with Tim backstage. It was getting close to show time. So like he had to go get ready. I was getting ready to go out to my seat. And we were just kind of standing there in a circle just chatting. And he pulled out his phone to check it, you know, and I just kind of assumed he was checking maybe he got a text or something from his wife, you know, he just kind of looked down at his phone. So I did the same. I was dating my now wife at the time. So I kind of did the same, just checked text message. And all of a sudden he's like hits me in the shoulder. I'm like, what on earth are you doing? And he didn't say anything. He's like, I just want you to listen to this. And he put the phone up to my ear and it was John leaving Tim a voicemail. Saying, hey, Tim, it's John. I'm paraphrasing, but just wanted to talk to you for a few about your buddy, Seth. Give me a ring back when you get a chance. And so, of course, my heart falls to the ground, you know, I'm like, what? Oh my, what are the odds I'm standing right here with you at this exact moment? You know what I mean?
That's funny. Yeah, that is a God moment.
So it is crazy. So he goes back to the dressing room. He's like, well, I'll try to give him a ring back and then we'll chat after the show. So show happens, go back. Of course, I want to know immediately if they chatted. And he's like, yeah, we chatted. And he's like, I'll tell you this. And he's like, I already knew this about John, but he's like, here's what he said. He said, Tim, I've seen his audition video. It's clear he can play. He's like, I'm not worried. I am not worried about him being able to play these songs at all. He's like, He's like, I probably watched 5 minutes into the 3 songs that we wanted him to play. And I was like, okay, like it's clear he's going to be fine. He's like, I'm calling you because I want to know where his heart's at. Is he truly a Christ follower? Is he walking what he says he believes? What's his demeanor like? Who is he to be around? All of these things that you just mentioned about what Corey was saying about Jen was very similar to what John was wanting to get some intel, from Tim. So I think that really speaks to them. It's not always
first who they are, then what you then your talent. And a lot of other people, it's the other way around. Like, how good are you? And then find out if what kind of person you are. But with them, it's like the other way around.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, because it's funny. I mean, it's like, I didn't know this at the time of joining, but now 15 years or whatever into it, it's kind of what people would see of us on socials, like back behind the scenes stuff. Like,
right. It's
kind of just who we are as a unit. John's the outgoing, crazy, silly one, and we're all just it very much is like a family and community I don't want to say unlike anything else, because I haven't been a part of any other uh, any other thing, but there is something very special, and just the way God has kind of lined up this unit. You know, like Jen and I have uh, we've been like aunts and uncles to the Cooper's kids.
Right.
You know, I mean, so it's yeah, I'm very, very thankful, and I'm glad you brought that up about Jim, because it was like, wow, there's lots of similarities hearing that, and hearing kind of that story I shared with how that all unfolded.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's how you kind of know that you probably got into something pretty good, right? When they're more concerned about your character and how what your relationship is with Christ than you're playing. It's like, yeah, okay, yeah, he can play, but kind of man is he?
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a beautiful story. Thanks for sharing that. And so I do want to jump back now. Let's go back to the beginning. Were you raised in a Christian household, or how did you get introduced to Christianity and to Christ? I mean, I know some people, even if they were brought up in a Christian household, they kind of stray away. Then someone else brings them back in. Like, where did it begin with you?
Yeah, I was. My parents were believer. Yeah, my whole circle, my family. My grandmother, but on both sides, my grandparents, my mom, my dad, my brother. So the cool, this kind of bleeds into my music journey too, but with the question you just asked. My parents were in a Southern gospel group when I was from my earliest memories were that. And when I say Southern gospel, it was more like, I like to clarify, it's kind of like country gospel. You know, some people, when you think Southern gospel, you think like quartet or something like that. But it was like, my dad plays everything with strings. You know, like his main instrument is pedal steel guitar.
Nice.
So I grew up with that ringing throughout the house, like 90s country music. But yeah, they didn't do it full time. But I think at that age, it kind of felt like it, because I mean, we were on the road like every weekend, so in a new church in our tri-state of like Ohio, Kentucky, West Virginia, Indiana, that Midwest, new church every weekend, probably up until the time I was 10, 11 years old. And it was with two other families, which was my aunt and uncle, and then another family, who have also, the kids that I grew up with are also musicians, have gone on to do some cool things too. But yeah, I was born again as a child. But what I think is really important is, becoming a follower of Christ, or becoming a believer, is much more than just saying a prayer and then it's stopping there. Our sanctification it's lifelong. Our pursuit of Christ is lifelong. It's something I, as a man, speaking, this will carry over to women as well, but what I'm so thankful for is I've always had, after coming to faith and declaring Jesus as Lord, I've always had men around me. God has just always put men in my life that have been that to me, urging you on, sanctification, pursuing holiness. From my dad, first and foremost, and my brother. My brother's quite a bit older than me, so I think that's the thing too. I always have always been blessed with like older men in my life too, which I think is really important. My brother's 15 years older than me.
Oh, wow. So
I had him and my dad. My brother was the drummer in the group, so I had them, my uncle, and then you have like phases of life, like you go into like your teenage years, and then I had another friend who's probably 15 to 17 years older than me, a guy come into my life, help shepherd me. And it really hasn't stopped all the way up until when I joined Skillet. And now like John has become I never know quite how to phrase it, because it's, you could equate it to like he's been a father of the faith to me, but also like a brother. It's just somewhere where those things kind of mesh.
Just a role model in faith, right?
A role model in faith. And what, I was going to allude to this when sharing my story of joining, but I think I would speak for Jen as well. And like what I think what the Coopers have been to both of us is like, well, her and I have talked about it, is like, man, it's hard to imagine, or maybe I would phrase it like this. You can't put the magnitude, it's hard to know the magnitude of what they have meant to each of our faiths, and how we've grown in the faith, grown in the word, learning things, theological things. Because I think, and this isn't knocking any other artist or any other Christian act or any other Christian band. I don't want it to come across like that.
Right.
But what you see, I think here, and attributing to like the community that Skillet is much more. It's much. Of course, we love playing music. Of course, we love playing rock music, and the doors God has opened for us on the secular world to be able to go into those worlds. But what they have meant to like our personal growth, you just can't. I can never just put into words how much it's meant, just the things I've learned. There's so much wisdom just reaping from both of them. And it's really cool. It's really cool how it's two guys and two girls. So it's like Corey is like Jen's best friend, and John has become one of my best friends. And it's just, so I would love to see, more. And I do think that's something that John takes seriously, and like what, the stewardship of those around him, and how he can be a light and be a tool to help people grow, and in the word and their faith. So
well, I think, doesn't that help you also with as busy as you are, and all the touring and meeting people and recording and just this busy, crazy life? It might help you to not take all of that for granted, right? Because you're almost like you have a daily reminder. You know what I mean? So It's so easy to get lost in everything, lost in the tour, lost in the music, lost with the meeting people and stuff like this. That faith becomes secondary. But it sounds to me like there's like an ever like major presence going on wherever you're at, whether it's at home or whether it's on tour. So it's like makes it really hard for you to become complacent and take it for granted.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good way to put it. Yeah. I mean, it's great when you're a part of the unit we are, when you're with people that make you want to run harder. After the mission that God has set forth for us, but also run harder after Him, dig deeper and holiness, and learning. Even if it's, I would urge people, even if it's, some people are almost afraid to learn, basic theological things. It's just because it seems so daunting. I mean, I was there. I'll say this, man, like, in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, when I joined Skillet, I mean, there's so much that I've learned since joining Skillet. A lot of that is because probably the nature of being around, like I said, John was like that next man figure in my life that just really, I think that God used to just, it's great to have people around you that make you want to dig in and learn some basic theology, and then read some, The Pursuit of God by Tozer. And then before you know it, you're snowballing, man. You want to read all these books and learn. But yeah, that's a good way to put it. I think, yes. And I just think that everybody does a good job. We're all kind of reminding each other. We have a job to do. We don't take for granted that God has opened these doors. I mean, we're here in Europe getting ready It's always, you're right. I never take it for granted. I almost chuckle every time I think about it, because it's like,
Right.
here's a Christian rock band. God has opened a lot of doors in the mainstream world. We're a vocal band about what we,
Right.
John is our leader, of course, but then we don't shy away from what we believe and what we stand on and the truth we speak. And we're playing with Slipknot, a couple times every year, and like all these Opeth and like all these bands. It just kind of makes you chuckle. It's like there's no other way that these doors would have been open for us,
Rock your face out!
At Salvation Consulting, we help streamline and optimize your production process. We're here to enhance your project with expert guidance and creative, scalable solutions. We specialize in helping churches and ministries, independent filmmakers, podcast producers, or those looking to create the next great music video. Visualize, optimize, realize. Salvation Consulting.
Rock your face out!
Do you look at that as an open door? I had asked John about this before. Playing with secular bands, I had asked him if he had a chance to, evangelize, almost like in a more casual way, like talk to people about where you at with your faith. And he said, yeah, quite often he gets to do that. Do you find yourself doing that, like striking up conversations with people in these secular bands to just find out where their faith is at with things? Has that ever come up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it typically happens. Well, firstly, like I would say at the start of a tour like that, you're praying going into tours like that, because some of the people sometimes you have a relationship with these people, like prior to touring with them, like them already. Sometimes you don't,
Right.
So I think you're just kind of praying, and it's on your heart to be like, Lord, if there's an opportunity, make it be, make
Right,
it come to
yep.
make it come to pass. Just so that's always kind of a prayer going into a new, maybe a new tour like that. I think a lot of times, I don't know exactly what stories John shared, but a lot of times it just can kind of happen organically. I mean, I know over the years, it's just so funny the ways God has used us to plant seeds. I mean, did he share by chance with you about their kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just things like that. I mean, I know your listeners can go back and find that episode with him, but things like that. And man, sometimes it's nothing more than, I think it's one of two things. I think if you're touring with someone new, maybe you come in and they're expecting you to be like, okay, these guys claim they're a Christian band. I'm sure they're not living it. I'm sure they're whatever.
Yeah.
That could be part one. Part two could be like, maybe they're a little weary at first because they think you're going to come like, pulling the sword out and coming right. So there's been some tours where people don't really know they don't know at first, they don't really know how to socialize. But I would say in a lot of instances, it's just kind of living our lives and doing what we do on a daily basis has opened doors in itself. I think people being able to see John and Corey, like a faithful, functional marriage on the road together. That, for starters, in that world,
it
can
doesn't
be
make
like
sense, right?
Yeah, that can be like there's something about this, I mean, automatically. But yeah, man, I think recently too, there's been a lot of people in our world just come to faith, and be more vocal about it too, which is really exciting. One friend of mine in particular, I guess it's okay if I mention his name, Clint from the band Seven Dust, who was always like in the rock world, he's like a legend guitarist, he's like a master riff writer. Seven Dust is one of those bands that like you never want to play after that band. You know, like they're like a musician's band. And to me, Clint growing up was like, I loved his playing. So anyway, all that to say, just seeing things like that recently, like he's come to faith and very passionate and vocal about it. And you know, when I saw that, I hit him with a text. You know, I didn't want to like send him a novel or anything like that. So I just sent him a text and was just like, man, this is incredible. I just said, I've been seeing the stuff you're sharing, and the stuff he's been sharing has some richness to it. You know, it's got some depth to it. It's much more than just it's not just the prosperity gospel, and God's will for me is to be happy, you know, and rich. It had some richness to the things he was sharing. I was like, man, I think the Lord has done something in this guy's life. So I texted him, I hit him up, and he's just overjoyed. And, you know, he just shared a little bit. We went back and forth there for about a week, and he was just like, man, he's like, so us and Seven Dust did a tour together back in 2019, I think it was. And he's like, there were so many times on that tour, I wanted to talk to you and John. He's like, but I just got, I don't remember how we verbalized it. I'm paraphrasing, but he's just like, you know, in the routine of a day, I got busy or I got scared. He's like, and I wasn't at the same place in my life then I am now. And he's like, just who you guys have always been. He's just like, you guys have just been so, like, looking at you guys just so solid. He's like, and then just the things you were saying from stage, he's like, I just commend you guys. And he's like, it really impacted me, you know, so that there's things like that. And then to be able to, you know, build a relationship with these people, you never know what God's going to do in someone's heart. You don't know the walls and addictions and the chains. He's just going to, with the touch of his hand, he can just rip it all off. And so it's been really cool. I'm just using Clint as an example just because I'm so thrilled for him and I'm so happy for him. And
yeah, it's great that you get to find out
God doing his family.
It's great that you get to find out these things, but, you know, think about the people. We talk about like how people live their faith out, like people want to know if you're posers or whatever, but when they see you actually living your faith out in real life behind the scenes and stuff like that, you know, there may be countless stories of people who aren't as vocal about it yet, but you guys were an inspiration for them to come to faith, and maybe they just haven't told you yet, or maybe they're just not that type of person to want to openly share it just yet. Maybe they're not there, but maybe there was an inspiration by seeing you, because John has told this story before about like people come up like, man, how do your kids behave like that? You know what I mean? He leads it back to the Gospels. You know what I mean, about you know, Psalms and, you know, Proverbs and, you know, instructions for life on how you bring up your kids and stuff like that. Exactly. And
yeah,
so
I mean, Spurgeon said that
else.
Yeah, exactly what you were saying. It reminded me like. And something John and I talked about. I'm sure I'll ask him more questions about fatherhood and parenting as my kids grow. But Spurgeon, Charles Spurgeon, who I love, he's one of my favorites. You know, I think is one of his quotes in saying that every family is like a little church. You know what I mean? Like if you look at it, I mean, it's like how just the God can flow out of, you know, how you're raising your family. You don't know how raising your family in the Word is just going to spread and impact others. Exactly. I'm just alluding on what you were saying, but yeah, I'd love that quote. It's something to stew on too. That Spurgeon quote. Every family is like a little church.
Well, since we were talking about fatherhood, and you're talking about, first of all, you've been in the band since you were, you know, young adult in your early 20s, and you are now a father, and you have been I know you had a child last year. How many kids do you have now? Is it just the one?
Two. Two. My daughter, June, she'll be 3 in August. Okay. And our son will be 1 in July.
Okay. So, is there things that you are learning from the Coopers and how they are raising their kids on the road. I mean, I'm not sure if you're taking your family on the road. I'm sure at times it probably is coming and going type of thing. But are you like, you got a role model there and seeing like what the fruits of those labors are? Is that something that you're like, hey, you know, I mean, that's exactly what I want to do with my family.
Absolutely.
Do you learn more from your dad, or is it a combination of both? You know what I mean?
Oh, I would say it's both. Yeah. I mean, just, you know, my dad has two boys. So, and yeah, I think I'm still blessed to still have both my parents. I still have my dad, my brother. But you know, the last 15 years of my life, I have spent so much time on the road. You know, I've been around John more than I've been around anybody. Right. So, and yes, I mean, just seeing, you know, their kids are adults now. You know, Alex is married. Zave, their son, who's one of my good buddies, is man, I don't know if he'll be 19 or 18. But all that to say is like, yes, I mean, and I know Hillary, my wife, has asked and will, I'm sure, ask Corey more questions. But something that was always very, that I saw, you know, I think there's a thing with parents where they think young minds and kids, well, they're too young to be able to understand X, Y, and Z. They're too young to be able to understand these biblical concepts. And that was never the case. Like, you know, like Corey, I know she's told me she was reading Psalms and Proverbs with their kids when they were little, like probably my daughter's age, reading Psalms, Proverbs and I saw it, like putting them to bed on the bus. Right. Always having worship time together, you know, on the road. We would do that often, like, whether it be on Sundays or whatever, just have a time of worship together. And I think those two things specifically stand out. You know, never being afraid to let your kids see you worshiping, be in the Word, and then read verses with them together. You know, I mean, my daughter's not even 3 yet, and she's like sharp as a tack. So I know, you know, she's soaking this stuff up. I mean, I'll already ask her, like, June, what's your daily Bible verse? And that's all I have to say. And she'll recite, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. You know? So, yeah, I think those things stand out. But with each phase and each year as our kids grow, I know I'm very blessed to you know.
Don't blink, because my oldest daughter just graduated college. So, and I'm finding that hard to believe right now. So, and it seemed to me just like a few years ago that she was 3 or 4 or 5. You know what I mean? So,
you know what, people always say it. People say it, and before you're a parent, you're kind of like, yeah, I hear you, but okay. But it's true. Like, you know, Hillary's sending me photos. I've been gone for like 3 or 4 days, and she sends me photos. I'm like, man, she just looks too big, you know? So I get it. I fully understand it now.
Well, also don't, whether you might already know this or whatever, but don't take the fact that you have role models in your life for granted, because there are a lot of people growing up who, you know, are getting married or not getting married, not coming to Christ, or coming to Christ and not really know what to do with it, and they don't have anybody leading them. They're kind of like lost in the wind. And and it's easy for us to say, well, this is natural for me because I've just had X, Y, or Z, you know, leading me along, and they've inspired me, or they've guided me, and whatever. Don't ever take that for granted, because there are so many people out there that are not being led, that they want to be led but are not being led, and don't have those inspirational people in their life. So that's just a message to everybody out there. You know what I mean? If you don't have somebody who's an inspiration for you, but you have found Christ and you are like in love with Him, don't be ashamed to be a role model for someone else, because they need it. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially as in this culture and social media age that generations are now growing up in, it's just so easy to be discipled just by filth. You know what I mean? Like you flip open your screen and you know it or not, your mind is being discipled by something.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that, kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier is like, I am thankful I've always had that, but I think, look, and it doesn't have to just be in music. Like it was kind of like a call to, I would love to see more. This is something I say to any kid, or I call them, late teens, early 20s that are wanting to get into music. This doesn't have to be confined to music, but don't.
Right.
I always tell them, don't just pray that a door will open that you get to do it. But more importantly, for me, it's always pray. My number one prayer for you above that is who you get to do it with, because that changes the course of your life. Mm-hmm. It truly can. And I would love for everybody breaking into the industry to, to have the type of leadership I've had throughout my life. I know not everybody's blessed to have a godly father, brother, mentors, but when God is sending you out into the world, and if you're wanting to get into music, I always tell people, my number one prayer is for you to have the guidance like Jen and I have had, and Skillet. Like, I think that's something I think people should take seriously in the Christian market, the CCM market, whether it's leader of a band or a solo artist or whatever it is. I hope people take that seriously and know that you can really shepherd and steward someone in whatever amount of time you have them. So, but that doesn't just have to be music, Right. I mean, that can trickle to any, whether it's college or a trade job or anything else. Older men, like 30s, 40s, you see the next generation coming up. Don't be afraid to take someone under your wing and plant the seeds. Right. And then let God, till the soil, and you never know what's going to happen.
That's what I like about doing these type of interviews, is because so many times, like, the focus for even in the Christian rock world is on the music, which is great, because the music itself is what draws people in. It's the inspiration. It's what hooks people. Mm-hmm. But it's the personal stories. It's the people behind the music. It's their personal testimonies. It's their journey that they're on that people don't always get a look at, or they don't get to hear. So, and I think it's just as important, if not more, to hear what type of person is this? What was their journey? Is that because am I in the same path as them, or my path is completely different? How can I, where's the inspiration for this? So I think that, for anybody, listening to music is great. Getting to hear people talk about the music is great. But I think the inspiration comes from the people that make the music, that are in the bands, that the people are looking up to. That's what they'll probably be more attracted to for a personal gain. And
sure.
which leads me to another question you may or may not have an answer for, but I know, because you meet a lot of people, but it's often like so rushed, right? I mean, and you have some moments where you have a conversation with somebody, but maybe not so much. But do you have any sense of like what age your fan base gets what your music is about? Because it's the music that attracts them. But I know with the youth, especially teenagers, they read lyrics, and they know they focus on lyrics, and that draws them in. And I know Ryan Clark from Demon Hunter had this whole op-ed about not having parents judge them because the kids get it. The music might sound dark and it might sound heavy, but read the lyrics. This is all about Christ. It's Christ focused. It's Christ centered. But at what age do you think, or have you been exposed to, that you think that your fans get it?
Man, I think it's very broad.
Hmm.
Specifically with the question you're asking, but then just in general too. I think the Skillet fan demographic is it's hard to pinpoint. It's very tall and it's very wide. You know,
Hmm.
you have very young kids, and then you also have like grandparents now that are, when we do these meet and greet lines,
Right.
but I mean, I think it seems like when you're talking about when they get it, I
And you
think
know
a
what I
lot
mean?
of.
Like they understand that you guys are not
Mhm.
like it's just not music that you put lyrics to and whatever. That there's a deeper
Mhm.
meaning behind the songs, and it's directing them to Christ. I mean, and some
Yeah.
people might never get that. They might just love your music, or feel like a monster, and they're just rocking out or whatever, and they may
Yep.
never get it. But you know what I mean? Like I just didn't know if you had heard any
Well,
testimonies from
yeah. I mean,
anybody.
there are a lot. I've heard a lot of. Obviously, "Monster" is our biggest song,
Right.
so that's typically the first song that young kids latch onto. And even just recently, I had a musician buddy of mine. He was out on the Winter Jam tour with another act and has a young son. And it was like the same story I've heard a lot. But so if I've heard it a few times, there's a good chance it's happened. With some people I haven't even heard the
Right.
stories, but it seems like a question for kids that are probably not even teenagers yet. I'm talking like under 10. They're a child.
Right.
They'll ask their parents like, "What does he mean? I feel like a monster, Dad. Like, why is he saying he feels like a monster?" Well, and John, when he's asked that question in interviews or whatever, basically basically that song is like original sin.
Right.
It's like we are all some way, form or fashion internally. Our hearts are monsters. We're
Hmm.
we're not created. We're not good innately because of original sin. So that's kind of like how he equates that line with what that means. So even like, and I think he's publicly said it in interviews. So like, one, parents look up an interview about the song and then they can relay that to their kid. Or
Right.
two, sometimes kids are on YouTube really young and maybe they found interviews somewhere and they've told their parents. They're like, "Hey, Mom, Dad, actually what he means by I feel like a monster, this is what he's meaning." And the parents are like,
Yeah, okay.
so, but man, it's so broad because I'll tell you like another really, I feel like within the past couple years, we've been hearing some miraculous stories, like in these meet and greet lines that we typically do before. It's just like very, very encouraging, just chill worthy stories that it just never gets old. And
Right.
it's just happened on Winter Jam, and this guy was a grandfather. So I think he was probably, I don't know, he's probably in his upper 60s. Not sure, but kind of he looked like a biker dude, like a tough looking dude, came through our meet
Right.
and greet. And I can always typically like in a meet and greet, just to set this up a little bit, like in a meet and greet line, it's typically in order that people meet us. It would be John, Corey, Jen, me. So like typically when they come to John, if there's a story that is heavy or impactful, like the security or whatever, you can kind of tell they're backing off. And everybody's really engaged. So I couldn't quite hear the whole story, but I knew something was. I knew it was something impactful. And we got
Right.
back to the dressing room, and this gentleman shared that there was a tragedy that happened. Basically, his grandson was mauled by like two Rottweilers and was killed.
Oh man.
And he wasn't a believer, and somehow he heard the song. He heard "Monster."
Right.
And he told John, he's like, it was everything I was feeling. He's like, the lyrics to that song were everything I was feeling. I was raging. I didn't understand how this could happen. I didn't understand how God could let this happen. He's like, he was at the end, and then he's like, I heard that song, and then I think it kind of like snowballed. Like he listened to some more songs. He dug in a little bit. He kind of saw what Skillet was about, and then he was born again because of this whole situation.
Wow. That's amazing.
So this is a guy in his upper 60s that this song touched, you know, and and another, I'll just share this quickly, but another, like, it might have been the same weekend, man. It was crazy. This lady, these are just the two stories that come to mind over the past few months, you know. Mm-hmm. This lady was told she couldn't get pregnant, and then did get pregnant, but then, like, I think she developed some sort of cancer, and the doctors basically told her, like, we need to terminate this. You're not going to live if we don't, you know, if we treat the cancer, it's probably going to kill your baby. So she's like, no, I'm not terminating. I'm not doing it.
Wow.
They're like, okay. They're like, we're going to have to take your leg. She's like, so be it. Take my leg.
Wow.
So this lady,
smokes.
you know, she comes through a meet and greet, and you're just assuming there's been like a really some sort of accident, and just the amount of sacrifice, like, that you see, like that like this lady gives up her leg to save her child.
Wow.
And just, you know, just hearing stories like that, just being a part of something in a small way that of a song or that played a role in getting someone through something like that it's just miraculous, and none of us ever take it for. It's just so humbling, and just, it really does make you feel honored.
Wow,
but to answer your question, like, what age do you feel like people get it? Those are kind of two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah,
where
no,
you
it's
got
sounding
kids.
like it. It really sounding like it. So that's really cool to know. I mean, yeah, that even people in their 60s are just finally like, okay, yeah, I get it. This is pretty amazing. And even about the story about the guy coming to Christ. I mean, that's inspirational. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's good that you get to hear these stories, you know what I mean? Because it's so easy that you just either glaze over it or brush by to just a meet and greet is, hi, how you doing? Here I am. Get your picture taken out the door. You know what I mean? But you get to talk to people, and that's where some miracles, you find out about some miracles, which is awesome.
Yeah. I love it. It kind of, it gets to the point where you almost look forward, like, to, I always look forward to meeting people, but it's like, you look forward to, oh man, what miracle stories are we going to hear tonight? You know, it's just, it's amazing. It's just, and that one specifically, what that man has been through is just, it's just the beauty of, what is the beauty, kind of the beauty of the gospel, that God can just take just such a horrific, unthinkable tragedy and use it for his glory. You know, it's people out there they're suffering, you know, like, people suffer. And then just to hear just to be a part, like I said, I just to rephrase it a little bit, but just to play a small role in something that is, you know, is changing lives globally is just, I think we're to the point that I would speak for all of us and say that that's what drives us now, you know, like, just see, on a global stage, like, what the doors God has opened in all these continents, and just hear the stories of what he's done in people's lives. It's just so encouraging. And
that's the blessing part about being in a band that is known worldwide, is you don't just go on, you know, these US tours and stuff like that and just keep it in the home base. You know, you're spreading that message globally, which is amazing, you know. Yeah,
it is amazing. And it's just incredible. And when I do think about it, it does leave me in awe. Like I said a while back, but it really does. I mean, it's just like, there's just no other way to explain it other than, you know, God has chosen to open these doors for this band, and we don't, we don't take it lightly, and we're very honored to be able to spread hope and take it to the far corners of the earth,
Absolutely. Well, I got one more thing before we wrap up here. Talking about guitar, you were saying before about how you were doing this like Southern gospel stuff growing up. At what point in time did you transition to just a backpedal? Like I asked John one time in the interview, I said, did you turn Seth into a metalhead, or was he always? He's like, no, he's always been a metalhead. So, and when did that transpire? Like when did when did you get inspired to say, I want to do the heavy stuff. I don't want to be doing this stuff anymore.
Well, I should say I never played in the group because I was a kid.
Okay.
In my parents' group. Oh, wow, that's wrong. When I got to a certain age, they let me play tambourine on a song. So I guess Beautiful. I did. But no, here's the truth. And people always think this is funny, I think, because of my leanings as a guitar player, of course. But I think because of growing up and hearing, still to this day, my dad plays steel guitar, pedal steel. For some people that don't know, that's like the instrument in older country that sounds very whiny, like that instrument.
Right.
So like hearing that, I will say like 90s country is one of my favorite genres. If we're not talking about rock, of course, but like I love 90s country. The musicianship in 90s country is phenomenal. The guitar playing, one of my top 5 favorite guitar players was like a session player that played on a lot of that stuff in the 90s. His name's Brent Mason. But flipping the page, like to when I started playing probably, I actually played drums before I played guitar. It was just always really natural to me. Okay. But then I started playing guitar, I was 11 or 12. I was like in 6th grade. And around that time, it was about the time that like Creed was getting huge. Mm-hmm. So like Mark Tremonti, a lot of my fans know this, that he's one of my biggest inspirations as a guitarist.
Nice. Yeah.
So, around that time, around the turn of the century, I was 12. So Creed was huge. Linkin Park was huge. That rock scene was like very at the forefront of it was played on pop radio, back then, like all of these rock bands. So yeah, Mark was a big, and this is kind of a really cool thing. He's probably my number one biggest influence. Okay. Creed disbanded. He went on to do, they're back together now, but his other band, which is a little more metal, Alter Bridge. So man, it's really cool. It's kind of like I don't know if you would call it a God wink moment. I don't know if that's theologically sound, but I'll call it that. But man, I would wait in line for Alter Bridge shows when I was a teenager before I could drive, and then even after I got my license, I was the dude getting there so I could be right in front of Mark. I wanted to be right in front of Mark, and I wanted to be right in front of his rig.
Right.
And, fast forward, I mean, we're pretty good friends now, awesome. Just because of the nature of the genre. We've done a tour together. Us and Alter Bridge did a tour together back in 2019. And it was so surreal. It's like
obviously.
He's calling me, wanting me to come to his dressing room so we could trade licks. And I'm like, I don't even want to pick up a guitar when I'm in the same room as you. It's like, it's bad enough that I have to play on stage and you can hear me every night, but it's really cool.
You got nothing to be ashamed about, man, because you are a shredder.
Well, that's nice, but
there's not a whole lot of people. There's not a whole lot of music genres right now that allow for the type of guitar solos that you do. I mean, the fact that it's a blessing that you're in Skillet that gives you this avenue to really just let it rip, because you let it rip, my friend.
That's nice.
Especially on like Dominion, man. There's so many songs on Dominion where you're just killing it, and And so, and I love,
Dominion's one of my favorites.
It's heavy. It's heavy. John's like, is it heavy? Like, 'cause some people say it's not. I don't think it's heavy. Why did you guys not lighten up a little bit? And I'm like, no. I said Dominion's one of your heavier stuff. It reminds me. I told him. I said it reminds me if Comatose and Fight the Fury had a baby, it would be Dominion. So.
Yeah, I could see that. I think sonically too, it's probably something people picked up on. It had a little different feel than other records. It's maybe why people said it wasn't as heavy. But yeah, Dominion as a solo, that is one I'm probably most proud of.
Right.
I don't know. It just kind of came together really quickly too, and we kind of experimented a little bit. We kind of did the whole Randy Rhoads thing, because I think he always used to double his solos.
Okay.
So if you listen to the Dominion solo, I doubled it. I played it twice to kind of get that. And you can kind of hear a little bit of like a sonically, not so much in the playing, but sonically there's a little bit of that Randy Rhoads thing. But yeah, you're right. I always joke. I'm part of I couldn't even tell you who's all in this group text thread. My buddy Tim that I spoke of earlier started this thing, and it's just a bunch of guitar players from multi-generational in the CCM market. I mean, I think like Stu from Delirious is in it. The Mercy Me guys are in it. I couldn't even tell you who's all in this group thread. It's like 40 some people. It's cool. It's really cool that he started this, and people can, there's cool camaraderie. I miss a lot of the text, but every once in a while I'll catch them.
Right.
But yeah, I was I was looking through it once, and somebody had asked a question about like Randy Rhoads or something. I'm like, hey, maybe you guys haven't heard this, but I want you to listen to this solo. I took a little Randy Rhoads influence, for the Dominion solo.
Right. That's awesome, man. And yeah, keep that more of that stuff. Just keep doing that. And on a personal plea, I know you probably don't have a major say in this, but maybe you can plant a seed in John's ear with the 4th of July coming up, and even the next year is the 250th anniversary of our country. Try to work back in the song "Live Free or Let Me Die." You guys, that was like a B track that just got discarded, and that's a great song.
I love that song.
And there are times where it's needed, like this, for Memorial Day or for 4th of July, you name it. I mean, just you can work that in. And now we got the 250th anniversary of the country coming up. Just kind of work that back into the set somehow. Plant a bug in his ear. Say, hey, John,
that's a good idea.
What if we bring this back? I think we should bring this back.
Funny enough, I always even pre-joining Skillet, that was like because it wasn't on Comatose. I don't know if it was on like a deluxe or something like that.
I think it was on the live album deluxe version or something. It was like an extra track on the live album or something like that.
Isn't that funny how that always works out? Similar story. Psycho in My Head was on the deluxe version of Dominion, and I think that song continues to be one of the biggest streaming song off the record. and it was on the deluxe. It's just you never know how that stuff's going to go. But yeah, I would like that. I love Live Free or Let Me Die.
Well, it's Disciple had this song called "Darkness Dies," and it's one of Disciple's best songs ever. And they didn't even release it with "Love Letter Kill Shot." They did it with when they re-released it with all the other bonus songs on there, like the special edition, and it became like their number one streamed song.
Yeah, you never know, and I think too, you sometimes get a feel. I can't speak for them, but like maybe you play some of these songs live. And I think that's what happened for us with Psycho in My Head is when we started playing it live, you could sense something. You know what I mean? Right. Like you can sense that it's hitting and it's connecting.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I haven't checked in a while, but it not just streaming off Dominion. It was like in our top 10 streams
of all songs.
Most streams.
Wow.
Yeah, at one point, I don't know if it's still there, but we could kind of see that. Like there's a sense of like excitement. You can almost tell like when a song's working and when it's not by your live show. And
Right.
Psycho in my head was always one of those songs that you always kind of felt something happening. And it's just so funny because it wasn't even on the it wasn't even on the regular album. So
Yeah,
that's kind of the
crazy how
beauty,
that
though.
works out.
These days of music with streaming, like throw up a single, especially us being independent now. I mean, you're not. There's not really anybody to tell you no.
You're getting direct feedback of what the fans like and what they don't like.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's
absolutely.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, Seth. Well, I've taken up enough of your time. I really appreciate you being here with me. And, look, Skillet's on tour everywhere all the time. When they're somewhere near a town by you, please go check them out. You will not regret it at all. They rock. It's like, and if you're, Gen Xer like me, and you love that 80s rock show, with the pyrotechnics and the lights and smoke and everything like that, this is a throwback to that. They really know how to put on a live production, and it's a lot of fun. The music is great. You'll hurt your neck banging your head, especially when you're older like me, but you will not regret it. So, and if you loved this interview, please check out some of my other interviews, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow, and share this. Share it with everybody you know. Why not? It's worth the share. All right, Seth, do you mind if I close this out in prayer?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. Father God, thank you so much for this time together with Seth. Thank you for blessing his life and bringing him into the band Skillet, where he's got role models galore with John and with Corey, and at home with his father and his mother, his brother. You continue to lead his life, Lord, down the right path, keeping his faith front and center with the music, with the fans, with his, like I said, his mentors that he's got around him. Please continue to allow him to be a mentor to people coming up behind him. Let people be inspired by his life, by what they're seeing, how he's raising his family and with his relationship with his wife. Lord, please continue to bless Skillet on everything that they do. Bring more people to you, which is what their music is intended to do, to focus on you, to shine the light on you, Lord, and that's what the Skillet does. Please continue to bless their career for as many years as you could possibly allow them to play, and be popular and bring people to their shows, read their lyrics, and get inspired, and because it's all about you, Lord. So please bless everything that he's got in front of him, any side projects he's working on, anything he can get inspired from to bring into Skillet. Just continue to bless him in his life. And we ask for all of this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, Seth, thanks again for being with us. And I am Michael Kadrie, and we will see you next time on Rock Your Faith Out. Yeah.
Rock your faith out.